in Chapter 8. Chapter 8 involves solving triangles for all the different lengths and angle measures. This is one of my favorite chapters because if you go back to geometry, you remember how you would solve a right triangle? You would find the three missing sides and find the three missing angles. Or not three missing, because if it's a right triangle, one of the angles is what? 90. But you find the two missing angles, right? So that's actually the very first slide is, do you remember from geometry, if I gave you that triangle, how to solve for it? You should, but if not, here you go. If I say solve a right triangle, it means that you are going to find all three sides and angles. That's what it means. So if you look at it, if you have a highlighter, you could say to yourself, okay, where is the missing information? There's a missing side here, a missing side here, and then this angle is missing, which is called angle Z, right? There's three sides, three angles every time. The technique for solving a right triangle is go to what you know the most about. Go to what you know the most about. Do you know more angles or do you know more sides? You know more angles. So it's easier to start with the missing angle. So we're missing angle Z. Number one, it's a right triangle, which means it has, I'm going to ask it again, one angle that measures 90, which is the little square. And then we also have an angle that measures 37.1. You have to remember, what is the sum of all the angles of every triangle in general? 180. So you can say 180 minus that right angle minus 37.1, and you get 52.9. Or you could say, well, if it's a triangle, it adds to 180, and if it's a right triangle, one of the angles is 90, which means there's only 90 left between the two acute angles. So some people choose to go this way. Either way you go, you still get not 57, 52.9 degrees. So angle Z is 52.9. To get the missing sides, you have to use trig. This is your geometry trig. So like sine is the opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. That stuff comes into play. So if I'm looking for, I could go ahead and label this as 52.9. If I'm looking for side Q, for instance, if I want to solve for side Q, I need to use the two other given values in the triangle. So for instance, if I'm trying to solve for Q, I'm going to have to use 37.1 and 6.3 to do that. Because I can't set it up to have Q and W in the same fraction, because then I'd be stuck, right? So you ask yourself, you position yourself from here. You say from angle Q, how is side Q positioned? What's it considered? Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? It's opposite, right? And then 6.3 would be adjacent, because this is the hypotenuse, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so set it up. Which trig function uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent. So tan, angle measure, equals fraction bar, opposite over adjacent. Bless you. So that's the trig function set up. To get q by itself, you're going to cross multiply the 6.3 to the front, and then you type it in your calculator. What mode do we need to be in our calculator? Degree mode. Your calculator needs to be in degree mode because we're not dealing with radians. So you type 6.3, 10, 37.1. We're going to go to the nearest 10th because this is ugly. And you get about 4.8. Did you get that? Now, if I wanted to solve for W, ignore all the other stuff up here. If I use 37.1 and 6.3, that would be the adjacent and the, which is which trig function? Cosine. Adjacent over hypotenuse. This one, you still started out the same way. You cross multiply this over. You're just not done because the W is in the front, attached by multiplication, so you would move it by division, and then that's what you would type in the calculator. So this goes away and comes over here. That cancels out, and then you would get approximately 7.9. What I wanted you to do tonight is practice one or two of these in the iExcel link. I posted it. It'll let you practice it for free, like if you only do one or two questions, okay? Yeah, I think.